In this video, we're going to look at problem number 29 of chapter 2. It's a find the error problem, and we're going to go over it together and try to debug it. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into REPL.it. I'm going to click on New REPL, choose C++, create REPL. Now in my code editor window here, I'm going to just cut and paste the code from the chapter. Okay, so what's wrong with this program? First thing we'd like to do is you can see that the comments were done incorrectly. Just to review, they look like this. You can tell right away from the various colors and the underlines that something's not right with everything here. And that's just because this comment is done incorrectly. Got the asterisks and the slashes in the wrong place. The next thing we see is a squiggly line under IOStream. And if we try to run this, you'll see that there are a number of different errors here. So if we remember from the book, our include statements need to have these less than and greater than brackets around them. After that, our next error appears to be down here on line 7, extraneous closing brace. Well, hopefully you've identified that this shouldn't be a closing brace, this should be an opening brace. So let's create an opening brace there. Now, we still have an error for it, expected unqualified ID. So that error message is a bit misleading, but if you look at the book samples, you should be able to find that part of the problem is there's an extra semicolon after this int main function declaration. All of your programs will begin with int main, but semicolons are only for end-of-line statements. So once we remove that, we can see that several of the that the squiggly line there is gone. Now the next problem we have, in this case, the error message is actually very helpful. Expected semicolon at the end of declaration. So let's go ahead and put that semicolon there. Right. Now the next error we have, expected expression. This is not a super helpful error message, but hopefully you remember from the chapter that comments should be forward slashes. Once we do that, we get a whole bunch more of squiggly lines. And again, these next 3 lines, the error message helps us out. It says we're missing a semicolon. Okay. Now the next problem, use of undeclared identifier cout. Did you mean to use cout with a lowercase? In this case, it was very helpful. Remember that C++ is case sensitive. We want to actually call cout with a lowercase. Now the next error, result of comparison against a string literal is unspecified. So this is a very confusing error message, but it thinks we're trying to do a comparison between this string literal over here and this cout statement, which makes no sense. If you look back at the chapter, you can see that we just have the syntax wrong. Instead of a single less than, we want double. Same thing over here. And again, we have an error on the C saying that the identifier is undeclared. Remember, C++ is case sensitive. So there's no such thing as a capital C in this program. We've only got a lowercase c. So let's fix that. We have a return statement, and then we have another error here. And this error message is helpful. Expected a closing brace. So let's go ahead and do that. Now while we don't see any other squiggly lines here, at least I don't, I'm going to hit run just to make sure my code compiles. And you can see that for the most part it did. At this point, all we really need to do, since this is just an integer, is we could just remove that %d. And now when we run It says the value of C is 7. If A is 3 and B is 4 and C equals A plus B, then C is in fact 7.